Marks and Spencer has decided that cash is a more powerful incentive than environmental conscience to wean us away from our passion for carrier bags. It's planning to charge customers 5p for every bag. Julie has more on the scale of that task. Julie.
Each year here in Britain, every one of us is handed 216 plastic bags. That's 13 billion every year. Typically, they're used for just 20 minutes and then simply thrown away. But they can take up to 1,000 years to decompose. So most of them, 98%, end up in places like this, landfill sites. But there are still more than 200 million littering our countryside.
Of this storm have been felt right across the country, and from space you can see exactly why, as Julie explains.
Well, we've been warned for days about the worst storm of the winter. So how was Britain affected? Well, these satellite images from the Met Office show the path of the storm as it swept in from the Atlantic. It made landfall in West Wales and Cornwall overnight and moved across central England, leaving a trail of damage in its wake. Well, the south coast was battered by gusts of 70 to 80 miles per hour. The highest recorded gust of wind was measured at 96 miles per hour, and that was at the Needles on the Isle of Wight. Well, inevitably, transport has felt the brunt of the wild weather. 200 flights were cancelled at airports in the southeast. Takeoffs and landings were pretty hairy at times. And it's not over yet. The Environment Agency has issued 41 flood warnings across the country. Now, it's most concerned about flooding here. That's along the Bristol Channel, the Severn Estuary and along the Somerset coastline. Early estimates put the damage at hundreds of millions of pounds. Mark. Fierce fighting in Basra has left at least 30 dead and many more injured as the Iraqi army launched a ferocious attack against the city's militia. This is the first major test of the army, trained, of course, by British troops since control of Basra was handed over last year. And it could have dramatic implications for British forces. Well, around 5 a.m. local time, Iraqi soldiers began the operation they've dubbed Charge of the Nights, moving into a neighbourhood stronghold of the Mahdi army militia, Al-Tamir. Now, almost immediately, militia fighters went on the attack with mortars and machine gun fire. Soon, the fighting had spread to 5 other neighbouring districts. Now, British involvement has so far been restricted to the air, with helicopters flying overhead and relaying information to Iraqi forces. But if the fighting worsens and the Iraqi army loses control, they may have to call on some of the thousands of British troops based at the airport just a few miles away.